Welcome back, Tributes, to episode 81 of Into the Arena. I'm Holly,
I'm Emily.
and we are back and we are hotter than ever because, oh my goodness, there is news, there is news, there's news. If you haven't heard, and if you haven't already seen by the title of this episode, we have a whole new book and movie, Hunger Games, coming out. What? What?
What?
Like Sunrise on the Reaping was announced on June 6th, which was when we're recording this past Thursday. And I felt like we would kind of just go over what we know so far. We don't know much, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot of speculation, and just kind of go through what is going on in the fandom because Emily, when we started this podcast, we started it to get through Ballad. And here we are.
Here we go again, I guess.
I want to talk about what was your first reaction when you heard the news? Like, where were you? I feel like I'm gonna remember where I was.
Well, it was pretty early in the morning, and I always get news last because I'm on Pacific time right now. So, I mean, I'm in Arizona, and everybody is always talking about stuff before I wake up. So here I am sleeping, and all the notifications are coming through, and I woke up. I just opened up Instagram first thing in the morning, as I do. And I saw it right there, the Scholastic post, Sunrise on the Reaping, and I lost it.
Lost it. Like, I thought it was insane. I was just same thing. I feel like we all were just in bed or like waking up because the news came out. I think it was about 5 o'clock my time, maybe 5:30.
You were on
So it would
top
have
of
been like,
it because I logged in, and once I saw the info, I went to our page. You'd already posted it. Like, it was great.
oh, thank you. I was like, so I like funny story. I'm like very, very blind. Like I can't see without my contacts or glasses, anything. So whatever, I like roll over, and it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, just getting ready for work. And I see that I have like 100 notifications on Instagram. I'm like, what is going on? But I can hardly see my screen, so I'm like holding my phone like this close to my face, and I just open it up and I see new Hunger Games book. I see like chats going off. People are like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe. And I didn't know what the news was. I guess I shouldn't say I saw that it was a Hunger Games book. I just saw that there was Hunger Games news and everyone's freaking out. And I jump to it. That's the first thing I see. And oh my gosh, a prequel book. And it is going to be, I want to read specifically what they said it was going to be about because, I don't want to
On
put
that
words in their
post.
mouth. Yeah. They said
It was very short.
the yeah. They said the fifth book in the series will revisit the world of Panem 24 years before the events of the Hunger Games, starting on the morning of the reaping of the 50th Games, also known as the second quarter quell. That's all we get. So all we know is that we are waking up at sunrise on the 50th, the day of the 50th reaping.
We
We
will
don't know
be
whose
there.
perspective. Yeah, I will be there, stat. But I think it's so incredible that we are getting like initially everyone was saying Haymitch's story because I mean it is Haymitch's games, but here we are. We have no idea who the book is going to
hmm
be, what perspective, if it's going to be multiple perspectives, first person, third person. Like we don't know anything. We're going in blind.
I have been thinking for a while now that we would get another book. I think when we did the episode with Gabby, when the magenta copy came out, there was a pivotal moment for me where I believed we were probably going to get another book. But I just thought it was going to be so much later. I thought it would be, in
Yeah.
5 years, maybe 10 years, but I did feel like another book was going to come. It's just wild that it's next year, that it's in March, March 18th. I can't believe it's so soon. Like Suzanne must have got to work right away on writing another book.
We're 9 months away from March. I think it was our friend AJ who found out allegedly that it's around 400 pages listed on different sellers' websites. So we know that it's going to be shorter than Ballad. It's going to be longer than the original trilogy books. And I feel like that's a perfect size book. If we're at
Yeah.
around 400, keep it there.
That gives me hope that it's not too long unnecessarily.
And Ellie Berger, who is the president of Scholastic, said that Sunrise on the Reaping is a remarkable book, bringing complexity, perspective, and revelations to a piece of the Hunger Games story that readers have longed to know more about. Which I think it's interesting that they're focusing on the second quarter quell because um, people have been asking for Hamish's story for years. Like when we were talking about what the next book would be, or even imagining what this would be, I never would have picked the Hamish's games as being an option. But I'm really, really looking forward to exploring this era of Panem.
Me too. Honestly, I've been saying Haymitch's games for a while, but not because it has anything to do with Haymitch. So I'm very excited to see what the book is actually about. I think they intentionally didn't say anything about Haymitch, but the internet is going wild for Haymitch. Everyone is very excited about Haymitch and Haymitch's games, which is really cool, but I just don't think it's going to center on Haymitch. Obviously, he's going to be in it, and I think there are going to be conversations with Haymitch. I don't think that's what the story is going to focus on. I think we're getting a Plutarch book. I really, really hope that's what we're getting. I think that would be so full circle. We have talked about Plutarch in increasing capacity on this podcast since we've been doing it. I went back and listened to some of our old episodes that I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about Plutarch. And the first time we talked about Plutarch was episode 5 when we went through the 10th anniversary interview with Suzanne Collins. And she talks about Plutarch so much in that interview. That was really like our Plutarch awakening, I think, about how important of a character he is. And if you listen to our Tigris episode, we do an episode on Plutarch. We talk about him like he's the missing link, I think, between he's the bridge of what happens between what we see in Ballad and how the revolution starts in on the capital side.
I think that's like an amazing way to put it. I think Plutarch is just he's almost like an underdog character in a sense that not many people pay attention to him, but he
Mhm.
is so politically driven, and this book is all about politics.
Mhm.
So,
He's the propaganda man. And Suzanne said we just got a little snippet of what has inspired this new book. And she says she's focusing on propaganda and real or not real. And that's Plutarch.
I want to read that line because the only thing we've heard specifically from Suzanne about this is she said, with Sunrise on the Reaping, I was inspired by David Hume's idea of implicit submission and, in his words, the easiness in which the many are governed by the few. The story also lent itself into a deeper dive into the use of propaganda and the power of those who control the narrative. The question, real or not real, seems more pressing to me every day. So, can we talk about like dreams coming true? This is the side of the Hunger Games that I am craving to learn about is the propaganda. And I think what has been interesting is a lot of people are theorizing the perspective could be from a career in the games.
I think it could be too. I will be very sad if it's not
I know.
Plutarch focused, but I do think even if it is something else, Plutarch will be in the book. Like, there's no way that he's not going to be mentioned or in some sort of conversations in the book. He's got to be there, in my opinion. I'll be very disappointed if not. But I do think the propaganda angle would be so interesting from the career districts and learning maybe more about how that started, the propaganda that they're fed, why they are so convinced that, being victor is the ultimate goal. I think that would just be fascinating. And the people want it. The people want Haymitch, they want Finnick, they want careers. Those are the things that they're interested in.
I think the only hard part is deciding then the timeline of the book that we're going to get because we
Mm,
know it opens up on the 50th, the day of the reaping of the 50th games, but to like where does it end? Like, do we see the whole game? So if we were to see it from a careers point of view, say we see it from the District 1 girl's perspective who is in the final two with Haymitch. She doesn't survive the game, so that perspective ends. So if we were to follow a career, we would only see up into the end of the games, but we wouldn't see the consequences that come from Haymitch's actions in the games, which I think Susanna is definitely one going to take
mhm.
a stab at.
I could definitely see it being more of an omniscient third person and following multiple characters. Maybe we're in the arena and outside of the arena, in which case Plutarch, I think, should be the perspective outside of the arena, and then maybe we're also with Haymitch, or maybe we're also with a career tribute. But it is interesting, the name, the title, Sunrise on the Reaping, because it opens on the reaping. So is there some event, something unexpected that happens before the reaping even happens? And then why is that the title? Something that happens at the very beginning of the book. What if sunrise on the reaping is not referring to the 50th reaping? What if we follow Haymitch for a year? We see him on the victory tour, we see the propaganda of that, and something actually occurs on the morning of the 51st reaping when he starts being a mentor, and that's the end of the book.
Mm,
I don't
that's
know.
interesting. Yeah.
It's just strange to think that sunrise on the reaping, it opens on the reaping. Why is the book titled something that's going to happen on, in theory, the first page?
I think the key word is sunrise, which, like, when I think of sunrise and I think of its relationship to the Hunger Games, I think of the catching fire line, the sun persists in rising, so I make myself stand. I don't know why that like has been playing in my head over and over again, but for me, and I think a lot of people are connecting this sunrise idea to like the making of a rebellion and the start
The
of
start of something,
revolution.
like the dawn of something. Yeah.
Hmm. And maybe that would be this era of the revolution that starts Katniss's rebellion. I think that's a really interesting idea because we have no idea. We know that like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, ballads played such an integral part of that story. So what our sunrise is going to be like? Will she specifically only look at mornings and beginnings and startings for this book and rebellion? I don't know. It's just, I think there's so much to unpack with the title, but again, we're running on such limited news.
We the fact that we can talk this much about
Oh my God.
knowing nothing. I mean, I love
Get a
it,
kick out
but
of it.
see, that's why I'm team yellow for the cover as well. I just think yellow would go so well with the other books, and sunrise just reminds me of yellow.
I'm behind you on the yellow. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be purple because with the announcement cover, it was purple hues, dark blue. Our friend Tiffany, THG prequel, even put out this whole thing on what cover color she thinks it's going to be. So I think it's just so fascinating that we as a fandom are like really taking it apart and like figuring out these details. Like we don't even know when we're going to find this
Y'all,
out.
look how good this yellow looks with the books here, okay? It just goes. It would look beautiful.
And exactly, we already have the magenta special edition ballad, so purple I feel like we don't really need. But then people have been saying that purple kind of goes with Plutarch in a sense, so that's another thing I've been reading on Reddit is people saying
Okay,
like,
okay, I can see that. Well, purple is a very regal kind of royal color, and Plutarch is deep in the elite society of the capital. So,
mhm,
I'm not gonna argue that. I could see that.
yeah. So it's between I don't see it being any other color. But like what do you think the cover is going to have? Because when we were given the untitled Pan Am novel, there was a feather on it and then we ended up getting this green cover with the mockingjay and the snake. But what do we think is going to be on Sunrise's cover? Do we think we're going to see another Mockingjay, or do we think she's going to stray from that?
I mean, we could go back to a Mockingjay pen because the pin comes back into the story in the 50th games.
Could it be like a shadow of a Mockingjay or something like that to
Just
reflect like this idea?
stylized differently somehow.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
Usually cover reveals come out. Do we know how soon they come out before?
I think it'll be in the fall sometime. Maybe
Okay.
earlier than we got Songbirds and Snakes, but I don't think we have very long to wait at all.
Every single day. Like, I think it's just so funny. Now we can expect anything every single day. Like, I wasn't expecting to wake up on June 6th with this crazy news, let alone the announcement that this book is also being transformed into a movie coming out on screens November 20th, 2026. Another theory that has been like going around has been maybe it's from Tigris's perspective, or
Mm.
Tigris plays at least a role in this, specifically as a stylist in the games. I couldn't see her being a District 12 stylist just because like I picture her higher up in the ranks at this point in time.
I think it just depends on when does the relationship fall apart between her and Snow? And we don't really know. I kind of envision her as a District 1, District 2 career district stylist as well because she's so well connected. She's related to the president. Katniss knows who she is. So I would think that she is a career district stylist. But if they've fallen out of favor, maybe her and Snow already, maybe she's kind of shuffled down to one of the lower districts. She could be District 12, but I don't think it makes as much sense.
I think I could see her being a career stylist, but it's so cool that we're gonna potentially get to see, I'm gonna say younger because like it's a prequel and I'm looking at the trilogy, so like a younger Tigress, but like older than Ballad. We'll get to see Plutarch, we'll get to see Haymitch, but I think some other characters that I'm really, really hoping to see is Mr. and Mrs. Everdeen. I want to see Mr. Malark. I want to see all the District 12 drama. I want to see all the classism with the seam and the merchant class. I think that Suzanne focuses on these District 12 stories. She even brought President Snow, she brought him to District 12. So Ballad ended up being partially a District 12 story. I think she's going to focus on this dynamic and these confusing situations and interactions between Mr. and Mrs. Everdeen, because we get young Haymitch, we get young Maisley Donner, um, who is best friends with Mrs. Everdeen. I'm really, really looking forward to see how that plays out. I really hope she focuses on District 12.
I think we're just on completely different camps with this, Holly. I hope we don't step a toe in District 12.
Oh my God.
I don't want to be there. I don't care what the Everdeens' first names are. I'm so sorry.
Oh my
I
God.
do not care. It does not matter to me. And after we were spending so much time in District 12 with Ballad, it would just feel so ridiculous to me that we're going back to District 12 again. I'm sorry, but it would. I do hope we get Haymitch dialogue in the book and Haymitch is in it, but even if it's in Haymitch's perspective, let's spend a few sentences in District 12. He gets reaped and we go on our way and we never come back.
Yeah, I'm still like deciding what I want from this book, I think, but I could see it taking place in District 12. I could see her focusing on like this classism between the seam and the merchant class because she hasn't done that yet.
I think if we didn't have Ballad, I would want to be in District 12, absolutely, but I
Hmm.
don't know because we were there so much. But this book is going to be full of connections and exciting ones. I don't know. You're right. Like, I don't know exactly what I want from the book. Whatever it is, I know it's going to be good. But I think it's just I'm so excited about the possibility of Plutarch and Tigris and like the start of the revolution from the capital side, that's everything that I want. And I would be interested to see more of the aftermath for Haymitch because we know a lot of his games already. I'm good there, honestly. I think it's more the aftermath that I'm curious about.
Another thing I'm also thinking about is how, especially being on TikTok, because I feel like most of the Ballad movie fans who didn't read the books are on TikTok, which is totally awesome. And I think I'm seeing a lot of more people on TikTok be like, are we going to hear from Lucy Gray? And I'm like, no, we're not
Mm,
going to hear from Lucy Gray. I don't think we're going to hear a peep about her. I think that's going to be one hurdle that Suzanne is going to have to jump over with this book is getting people to look at Ballad again. This book is going to be pretty much the book that connects Ballad and the Hunger Games trilogy together. It's right in the middle. It's kind of like a hub, is the way I'm thinking about it. It's going to be kind of a hurdle for her to get people to look at Ballad and not overlook the story, but connect it with the originals.
do you think people are going to need to read Ballad in order to read this book, though? Because I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I think the fans need to know the lore.
Yeah, like
Like
obviously
there was
people
a
should
Heavensby. Yeah.
because it's a whole story, but I'm gonna say that you're probably gonna be able to read this new book without reading Ballad and like you'd be okay. I feel like there's gonna be people who read this book and they don't read Ballad.
Marketing it as Haymitch's games. So, I
I,
mean, and
they're
some
not
people
marketing
behind,
it as like Haymitch's games though.
okay,
That's the
one
thing
thing,
is everyone's so excited about Haymitch, but I feel like there's gonna be a switch up. Not even a switch up because they haven't said anything about Haymitch.
mhm,
And when it's
it's
announced that it's about Plutarch, y'all, people are
ah,
gonna be mad.
people
I'm gonna
are
be
going to be
very
mad.
happy.
Hmm.
But
Smart
maybe it
move.
is. Maybe it is about Haymitch.
I'm totally behind. I think it's kind of been a roller coaster for me. I'm like, yes, it's going to be Haymitch's point of view. And then all of a sudden, no, 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 no. Like after doing research for this, it's not going to be Haymitch's point of view.
I
But on
just,
Friday night, I was texting everyone and I was like, it's going to be Haymitch. We also have to wonder what the twist is. That's what a lot of people have been asking is
hmm,
what's going to be this major plot twist? What is it going to be? Because we have a play by play of the 50th games. So it's not going to only focus on my head is just exploding with so
that's
many
why I
things.
think it has to be Plutarch and his conversations that he has with people in the Capitol. And I think this could be the moment where he decides that the games need to stop. I don't know exactly how, but I think that's got to be it. I don't know.
And
At
this,
some point he changes his mind and then after these games he starts potentially looking for a figure that he can use to spearhead his rebellion. Thinking potentially Suzanne at one point said maybe it could be Finnick. He considered Finnick. But then it wasn't until Katniss.
yeah.
Plutarch's been working
And
on this for 25 years.
he's been brewing. I'm also thinking, like, as a fan, I know that we all went back and reread the Catching Fire scenes that take place in the 50th games, like where Katniss and Peeta are watching the highlight
Hmm.
reel of Haymitch's games.
We read that part. We watched Mainstay Pros, Haymitch's games. We
All the
read
breadcrumbs,
interviews with Suzanne Collins.
anything. Um, there's a part, so Katniss is watching Haymitch as he's maneuvering his way or making his way through the arena, and he's on his way to the edge of the arena. And she specifically says Haymitch seems bent on continuing in the same direction away from the now volcanic mountain. And there's something about the word seems bent, like he seems so set on something. Like, what is he so motivated about finding the edge of the arena? Part of me was like connecting it. Maybe him and Plutarch have a conversation in the story before he goes into the games and he's like use the arena, you can use the arena, something like that, or like
Mm. Similarly
somebody's
to when he talks to Katniss at the party and catching fire and is giving her a hint there.
mhm. Plutarch gives hints, and so I don't know, there was something. Suzanne, I don't know, Suzanne is always very intentional in the way that she writes, And maybe I'm just overlooking it, but we're overlooking things today because we're running on a little bit of news. But I am thinking that maybe like what I'm imagining is a Plutarch perspective, a young Plutarch perspective, who then connects with Haymitch, and then that's where we see Haymitch's story is Haymitch loses his whole family, everything, and then maybe he
Hmm.
turns to Plutarch, and maybe that's where things kind of start talking. Maybe Haymitch is the start of this rebellion. I don't know. Like,
You know, that one little moment from Catching Fire popped into my head where they're on the victory tour. They're in District 11, and the whole incident in District 11 occurs, and Haymitch pulls them up to the attic in the Justice Building, and there's that one little line in the book about where Katniss says, "Oh, like it seems like like Haymitch has been here before, like he knows his way around here."
mhm.
And I'm like, maybe something happened there. Maybe he had a convo with Plutarch went on his victory tour with in District 11, up in the attic. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think another one was Chase, our friend Chase came up with this when after Gale gets whipped, catching fire, Miss Everdeen turns to Haymitch and says, "It's happening again." So
Mm,
talking
mm.
about like that sort of thing in the districts, rebellion in the districts and control in the districts. So I thought that was another good point that Chase brought up. So like all these little pieces from Haymitch that we're plucking from the story, I think Suzanne has totally woven these pieces together and is not using his perspective, but I think is going to take those pieces and put them in Sunrise, which I'm so looking forward to. Just mind blown.
Haymitch, Plutarch, Tigris. It's gonna be beautiful.
It's going to be crazy, which I guess is even crazier. We mentioned there's going to be a movie in 2026. Now we got to talk about the movie. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe we have a release date as well. Like they are on top of this. They are ready to make this movie and have another Hunger Games film come out. It's so cool.
Yeah. Because we got the announcement, I think it was 10 o'clock. So we got the announcement, it was 5 o'clock my time. And then it was like 5 hours later that we got the announcement
Mm.
about the movie. Like all in one day. Like you were dropping the baby bomb on me, PETA. Like that is what that is. Everyone just panicked. So we know for a fact the film's going to be released November 20th, 2026. Nina Jacobson and her producing partner Brad Simpson are going to return under Color Force. So we're getting same names, which Queen Nina is back. We're so thrilled. And then Francis Lawrence is in talks.
I'm sure he'll come back. I mean, the timeline is going to be very, very tight because he's working on another movie, The Long Walk, which I'm so excited about. It's a Stephen King novel. This summer, it's filming. So that'll probably go through September, if it starts in July, something like that. And then he'll be working on post-production for that movie probably through till, I don't know, in the spring. I don't know if there's going to be an overlap for then pre-production for the Hunger Games because that's going to have to film next summer. It's just going to be a very, very tight timeline for him. But I'm not too worried because he's done so many Hunger Games movies at this point, like, and this is building off of Ballad.
Francis is coming back. He's got to come back. There's
Yeah.
no way. Like, I think this whole fandom would turn away. I mean, I'll go see it, but like, we'll turn our heads if Francis
Call
isn't a
Gary
part.
up. What's he been doing? I feel like this movie is going to give Catching Fire vibes. Like I know we said that a little bit about Ballad, but in a lot of ways, I feel like it gave Hunger Games vibes, right? Because
Yeah.
we were going back to the first arena. I think there were a lot of connections to the Hunger Games, but because it's a quarter quell, it's giving Catching Fire. Also, like
Exactly.
Sunrise. I mean, it's just Catching Fire.
It's gonna be insane that we get to see the games on screen. I think that's gonna be shocking to me. The fact that like we've been begging for that Francis to have gone back in time and added Haymitch's games to Catching Fire. Like you said the other night in Tribute Talk, it's a good thing that that wasn't included because there's
How
no
about that?
continuity. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
they don't
just
have to
so
worry
worked out.
about making it look the same as it did in Catching Fire. It was such a disappointment at the time, but we had Mainstay Pro. We were we had that at least. But yeah, now it gets to be more fully explored, I think, in a way that it deserves. It's just going to be wild to see another glitz and glam version of the games and even more heightened because it's a quarter quell.
I just want to say, like, reflecting on this is insane. Like, I was 11 years old when I first picked up these books. I will
Let's
be
I don't know if
27.
I don't know if we should talk about age. It was
I
my
am
birthday this last weekend. I was like, I don't know if I want to be 31, but this year is the 15th anniversary of me being a Hunger Games fan. So, it's my
celebrate.
15th. And it's wild to think reading the book for the first time, not knowing how big of a piece of my life, like our lives, this series was going to be. And it's just incredible. And I feel so grateful that it just is continuing.
I'm still speechless. I genuinely, it was so funny. We woke up on Friday and somebody, I forget who, said, I woke up and was it all a dream? Like, is it still a dream? This is real life and we get to experience this again. And I'm so thrilled that it's a project that everyone is excited for. And
Hmm.
I think one thing that I do want to mention is the fact that this is not a money grab. Like I that is my biggest pet peeve with people being
No,
like, it's a money grab, it's a money grab.
no.
No. Suzanne only speaks when she has something to say, and she has something to say. So I mean, if the last few years are any indication of the how crazy the world is just in general, like there is stuff to write about. There are connections Panem needs to make with the world and lessons that need to be learned from everyone. And I just am so thrilled that she is putting pen to paper and our oracle is speaking.
I kept thinking over the past couple of days that I'm in shock because I'm like, why am I so calm? Like am I in shock still about this? But I don't even think I'm in shock. I think like obviously it was shocking the first, few hours when the news came out, but I just feel so relaxed and like so at peace like about this whole thing. It just feels because it just feels right. It just feels like
Mhm.
perfect. Like it doesn't feel like a money grab. It feels like this is the missing link. We've talked about this. This is the book to tie everything together that we've been waiting for. It just feels right.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to describe it. And I think the fact that we have a movie release date, we have all this, like we're just sitting back. You and I are just here to
We're
talk
we're
about
sitting pretty.
whatever.
We're gonna be here
Yeah,
the next three
you guys
years.
you guys signed up for 3 more years with us, so but it's so crazy to me. I think I'm speechless just because I thought Ballad was gonna be it. We all know I'm the optimist running around saying there's gonna be another Hunger Games book, but like what was I running on? Like I was
Hmm.
running on
Hmm.
nothing.
Yeah, I
So
didn't think we would. I was fully convinced there would be nothing else until about 10 or 11 months ago. And then I was like, yeah, no. There's another book coming. Did I think it was going to be in 2025? Absolutely not, but it's meant to be.
and I think it's so awesome because it's gonna open up so much more discussion. I think we're going to have so much more to talk about, not just about the movie and the book, but about like theories and about ideas and different themes and connections to these books that I think are just going to open our eyes. And so stay tuned, you guys. We have so much in store. We're so thrilled. Something we didn't announce at the beginning of the episode was that if you missed it, Tribute Talk came back on Thursday. It was so funny. We were like, this is what it took to get Tribute Talk back. But Tribute Talk is back every once in a while. So like turn on notifications for YouTube and Instagram, because if news is
Hmm.
flying out like this, we're just going to be going live and popping out and
Yeah.
showing up randomly. So if you want to be a part of that, turn on notifications and buckle up, because we have a few more years of Hunger Games left in us, which is so exciting.
Can't believe it.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We were planning a different episode for this month, but all of a sudden this popped up, and what else are we going to talk about? Like, we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Sunrise on the Reaping coming to you in 2025. So, share with us your theories. Who are you expecting to see perspective being told? Are there multiple POVs? Is it third person, first person? What's the cover going to look like? Who's going to be cast? Give us all your fan casts. Share your ideas with us. Is Rachel going to be on the soundtrack? Like, what is going to happen? So, stay tuned, stay along, and share your thoughts with us. And yeah, we have so much more to cover. So until next time, we'll see you then.
See ya.